One Piece Odyssey, the latest JRPG based on the manga series, was released a few days ago, and I'm a few hours in, and I had some thoughts, some impressions this game had on me. Though, let's tackle the most important question right now. Should you buy this game? In the simplest terms, only if you're a One Piece fan. This game will do absolutely nothing to ease non-diehard fans in. I'll dive deep into that, but let's set the stage first. The Straw Hat crew stumble across the island Wofford. They are suddenly hit by a knock-up stream which leads them to being shipwrecked. While Frankie is repairing the Sunny, the rest of the gang explore the island with Luffy, who's looking for his hat. Running into an Odyssey original character, Lim. She seals all their powers and skills into cubes, spreading them across the island, enacting her vengeance on all pirates who visit Wofford. Audio, another OC and Lim's adoptive father, steps in to help the gang reclaim their strength. While he appears cordial, there seems to be ulterior motives behind his actions. The player will be spending the opening hours in turn-based combat against all manner of beasts, and exploring the forests, caves, and dungeons of Wofford. That's as far as I'm willing to get into for a first impressions video. I don't want to spoil everything. I'll say the most unexpected elements of the game was the presentation and polish. It's a good-looking game with good-looking creatures and characters, helped by Ichiro Oda's designs, making the game feel congruent with the rest of the series. A few bits of the environment lean more on the generic side, but there are some neat touches of personality here and there. While exploring the island, you'll need to switch between members of the crew to take advantage of character-specific traits, such as Luffy's ability to stretch, reaching faraway platforms, Zoro's ability to cut through metal, or Chopper's ability to be adorably short. These help mix up the exploration and break up the game to not feel as if it's just a series of linear corridors, which I welcome anything to avoid the glacial pace of the walking speed. You can run, however it's barely noticeable. Moving on to the combat, there are a bunch of systems at play while remaining quite simple. You've got your regular attacks and items, along with skill attacks, all based on the character's signature moves, which will consume your TP. Sometimes special conditions will activate, beefing up enemy stats and requiring certain conditions to be filled. The crew won't always be fighting shoulder to shoulder. Plenty of time they'll be broken up into different areas. It'll be up to the player to make use of short and long distance attacks. And in certain instances, you can knock enemies into other areas. You can select which character you'll use first on your turn, taking advantage of different attack types and elemental types, while avoiding or mitigating status effects. You can swap characters in and out of your reserves, or you can set to autoplay and quicken the combat speed because the game's difficulty is non-existent. It's well and truly terrible that all these systems are introduced for no advantage at this point. Enemies in some cases barely making a scratch, and had me believing this game could not have been playtested, or that there had to be some sort of bug or mistake that was made. Over the course of 4 hours, I only ever healed once. That's pure insanity to waste so much development efforts. It's got me praying for a difficulty spike on the levels of an SMT game. Unfortunately, from what I've looked up from other reviews, seems like this ease carries forward all the way through to the late game. Absolutely wasteful and destroys any dramatic tension when in combat. Bless you if you can still enjoy these battles, but I thought these systems could have been used to make something special. I've never hoped or felt a game needed a patch to add difficulty options more than this one. While a patch may help the gameplay, it is going to be harder to patch up its other issues. The opening hours can feel like a drag, teaching you all these systems for navigating the environment and combat techniques that I mentioned, constantly stopping the narrative to slowly fade to black. That has a hypnotic effect and had me getting sleepy after a while. Finally, speaking on the story, I don't want to judge as harshly, seeing as barely any story progress had been made. Though if I had a few observations, like character inconsistencies, Lim has a personal grudge against pirates, but moments later is chatting away with them, putting up no resistance when Audio invites the crew into their home and to help them out. Also worth mentioning, the game tries its best for characters to get their personalities across through dialogue, which is also welcomed. The stiffness of the character models is a hindrance as it prevents them from acting as animated as they normally would. though it left Robin, who has the most reserved personality, with the standout performance, with all her morbid comments delivered lackadaisical being the highlights. Nothing out of the ordinary for Robin, but to her advantage when the game focuses so much on dialogue. Finally, there hasn't been an introduction of any narrative tension. At first you lose your powers and there might be some intrigue on how you'll get them back, but audio jumps in immediately and it's basically a walk in the park for the Straw Hats. There's no sense of urgency at this point, whether the crew will get their powers back in a day or in a month doesn't seem to matter, and it's not as if there's a ticking clock that they'll lose them forever or something like that. We've got a vague looming threat from the world government, and some comparisons made to Jaya that are interesting, but it leads to my initial point. This game will not hold your hand with its references. Some visuals and lines of dialogue are going to seem outright bizarre to the unfamiliar. None of the canon characters or their powers or world history or organizations are going to be explained. For better or worse, this game is made for the fans. Considering myself as one, I'll still happily finish the game, hoping as I progress, all the criticisms I've made become null and void. I'll cheerfully appear like an idiot if this game gets better. I hope to put out another video when I've completed this game for comparison's sake. That's all for now.